Welcome to the Local Lad podcast. This is episode 10 of the Local Lad podcast. Bit of a milestone for us, reaching double digits, which is quite nice to do. You know, it's been a good journey so far from the first episode, not knowing what we're gonna go into to now look back after 10 episodes. I'm sure this is just the beginning, but it's also nice to reminisce and kind of give yourself some good self-appraisal. It's just me today on the podcast. I enjoy doing the Q&A one so much that I wanted to do one on my own again. I don't mind talking into a camera. I don't mind people hearing my voice for half an hour, although some people might disagree. But yeah, I thought, why not go again and talk about a subject which I don't think is spoke about a lot. I think there's kind of a scare around this topic of talk, but if I can use my podcast for one thing, it will be definitely to raise awareness for this subject, which is men's mental health. I think a lot of people suffer with mental health issues, especially men. There's a massive stigma around men's mental health, which I'm going to go into as we go into the episode. And I just want to give you some facts about men's mental health and also the suicide rate within men. It's quite frightening when you sit down and do a bit of research, what you can kind of find out about the suicide rate and the deterioration of men's mental health within a certain age bracket. So yeah, but before we carry on, I'd like to thank my official sponsors, which is Appear On Clothing. Since they come on the podcast, they wanted to come on board and be our official sponsors. So, to Kevin Mark, thank you very much for sponsoring me. If you want to go and view the stylish collection, especially now they got their autumn wear 2023 line out, visit www.appearon-clothing.com and use the code local15 for 15% off. And I'd also like to announce that we've got another official sponsor of the podcast, which is Sfada Radio. I sat down with Josh in a previous episode, and now he's decided to sponsor the podcast alongside Appear On Clothing. So it's very nice to get the support and, a bit of recognition that, people are listening to the podcast. So I'd like to thank the two companies for sponsoring the podcast. Now, the goals for this episode are to obviously raise awareness. I want to kind of make the listener, the viewers, the followers more aware of the issues that men face. And it's not just men, it's also, we've got any gender or however you identify deal with mental health. But I really want to focus on men's mental health because, like I said, there's a lot of stigmas around us men that we've got to be, the shoulder, have good, deaf ears, broad shoulders, as they say, but sometimes them deaf ears can get a lot of criticism and then a lot of, bad vibes, so to say, to then cause, a deterioration in mental health and then ultimately someone either taking their life or having to go into rehabilitation or, seek help, which there's nothing wrong with seeking help or going into rehab. If you really feel like that's what you need to do, then go and do it. Because I think a lot of people, if you speak to them who've had them experiences, have really come out and, come through on the other side a lot better. Like I said, reduce the stigma and provide a support. I think I mentioned on the Q&A, if anyone's got any issues, the podcast is here to support anyone with their mental health issues or any issues in their life. Just get in touch at the Local Lad Podcast on any of form of social media that we're on, which is Instagram and TikTok, and we're also on YouTube, which you can just comment or message into to the podcast. We're always open ears, and we're always willing to answer anything that's thrown our way. So, section 1, I want to kind of discuss the common misconceptions and stereotypes of the men's mental health. So, men don't experience mental health issues. It's a load of shit. I think as we become more and more involved with social media and more involved with technology, I think as technology and social media has advanced, I think it's highlighted more and more that men do have struggles with their mental health, which is a positive. A lot of people, including myself, before starting this podcast, I saw social media as a kind of threat and a kind of negative within our modern society and world. But now that I've kind of sat down with people of different, backgrounds, different walks of life, it can do a lot of good as well. I just think a lot of people, try and highlight the bad. And I was one of them people who tried to highlight the bad in social media and the impact it has on people's lives. But if you try and keep a positive mindset with it, then it is for the good. Men should be stoic and emotionally strong. This goes back to, the days of, well, you're a man, get on with it, man up, be brave, men don't cry. All them sayings that, especially that I grew up with, I think I think we've all seen the change in how people are dealing with mental health, but especially the way men are dealing with it now. I think it's a lot more positive. I think a lot more people are talking. But going back to the stoic and emotionally strong. If you were growing up, the men are the hard lot compared to women. You've got to be emotionally strong for your missus, for your partner. You've got to be that hard man. But I don't think that's the case at all. I think it's completely 50-50 with any gender. It's okay to not be okay. I think that's one thing that we've got to understand. If you've got an issue, you just need to talk. Mental health issues are a sign of weakness. Again, wrong. I think a lot of celebrities go through mental health issues and then come out. Especially actors and musicians, I think, they use any mental health issues they've got to then create a path and then become successful in their chosen career. I think going through a mental health issue can then open up a new pathway into, a career or, a hobby. I know a lot of people who have had mental health issues then work within the mental health industry or sector of work, which is, which shows that it's, if you've got past experience of that, then it's okay to use that to help the next person who's struggling. Men only experience anger, depression, or anxiety. So I think this is a big stereotype with the male gender. If men are emotional, then people think men get angry. But I think as men, I can speak about this. I think if I'm emotional, then I come across as being angry to someone who doesn't know me. I think that's just the way we deal with things. We come across angry, but I just think men wear the heart on the sleeve. I think we get really emotionally invested in something or someone or whatever it is, and then if that fails or if there's like a bump in that road, then we get really emotionally wound up with it, and then it can come across as being angry. But then from that, we can then start getting a bit anxious over that event happening again. So I think it kind of feeds itself, and I just think a more of an understanding is needed, and I'm hoping that we can do that here. Men don't need support; they can handle it and get on with it. Again, I'm just trying to point out that all these are so false. We all love a hug. We all love to be told we're loved. We all like to be praised. We all just like a bit of recognition and a bit of emotional attachment to someone or something. So we do need that just as much as women need that, or whoever or however you identify need that. We all just need a hug at the end of the day, and it's okay to ask for a hug. I think that's one thing I'd like to broadcast in this podcast episode, is that if you're down, tell someone, and tell them that you want a hug, or you want a bit of embrace, or you want them to give you time to talk. I think that's a very important message that I want to send out. One thing, while sitting down and doing a bit of research on this topic, a stereotype which I kind of came across a lot, was that men are always violent when they're mentally unwell. I think in some cases we are, but I also think that anyone can be violent if they're mentally unwell, because they're mentally unstable. But I think if you get the help when you need it, and you admit to yourself that you are mentally ill, you are suffering with a mental illness, the help is there. And as this episode goes along, I will be hopefully giving you some resources or some tips that I've come across to help with your mental well-being. And one which I didn't expect to come across, but it did, is that men don't experience body image issues, which it kind of, I suffer. I really get torn with the way I look, hence why I wear a cap every time I go. I've explained it in the Dan Gregory episode that I struggle with my hair, the way it looks. So the way I deal with it is to just put a cap on and eradicate that from, if I'm doing a podcast or if I'm having a picture. Very rare that you'll see me with my hair. So that one's a load of shit as well, really. Men really do suffer with body image issues. I think if you use at the gym, at the fitness sector, for example, a lot of people are on steroids to improve the body image. Not everyone, but some people do use it. People with the hair, like myself, I've always researched to go to Turkey to get a completely new hairline and head of hair to make it thicker. Teeth. People go and get Turkey teeth, or they go to a private dentist within the UK to get a brand new set of lashes, which costs them a lot of money, but again, it helps them with the body image. So, and then even some men get Botox, or get plastic surgery because they're not happy with the way they look. So again, another stereotype or stigma which is just absolutely wrong. Now, as I said, I've done my research on it, and I want to kind of highlight some statistics related to men's mental health, and this is mainly to do with suicide rates. I think if you sit down and do your research on the mental health side for men, it's quite frightening when you really dive deep into it, the suicide side of this, how high it is, really. So I'll just get my phone now and I'll read the statistics, highlight some statistics related to men's mental health issues. So almost 800,000 people die due to suicide every year. Nearly twice the number who die by murder or homicide. That's in the world. For every death by suicide, there are approximately 20 suicide attempts made. Each death by suicide leaves behind a community of bereaved family, friends, colleagues and acquaintances. For every death by suicide, at least 7 to 10 people are directly affected by the loss. Research shows that mental illness is the most important risk factor for suicide. More than 90% of people die by suicide, struggle with their mental health or an addiction. Research estimates that up to 60% of people who die by suicide have major depression. Suicide is the single largest cause of death for men under the age of 50. So, just got to take a drink. So, take what you want from that. But when I read that and wrote them down, I was literally gobsmacked. It's the single largest cause of death for men under the age of 50. I'm 25, so I'm halfway through that kind of category. It's unbelievable. Well, I don't feel like I've lived my life yet. I feel like I'm just at the beginning. But there's people within that age category of 0 to 50, which is the largest cause for deaths. Which it's not a major it's not an illness, within the body that the body, it's not cancer, it's not, heart disease, heart failure, a brain hemorrhage. Some of the major things that people unfortunately die of, strokes. It's suicide. People choosing to end their life, which I just think is absolutely gobsmacking, and I think it just needs to change. So, segment 2, I was going to do personal stories and experiences. So I think as men we have had ups and downs. I think in my honest opinion, we show it more than anyone. I think you can tell when a man's down, and when a man's in a good mood. I think you can really tell that. I know I've had a family member, and someone from my extended family, they've unfortunately took their life from suicide. I don't know the reasons why. I've never really asked why, but I know the effect from that has been crazy. It's been, family torn apart, family not talking, people having their own opinions, but then causes, again, rifts in a family. So it's just, I can only imagine that person who's taken their life, to that must be their only resort. They just want to escape, and I think that, as much as it's sad, I think we need to learn from that as a society, as the ones who are still here today. We need to learn from that, and we need to really crack on and, make sure people know that it's okay to not be well, and that there is resources and stuff you can do which will just hopefully improve your mental health. So many resources now, and there's so many businesses set up to really aid this. I think one thing I've saw within Instagram and TikTok is, I think it goes back to cold water therapy is one that a lot of people are really using now to their advantage. There's many TikTok and Instagram pages which are purely based around cold water therapy and what it's done to improve people's mental health and day-to-day lives. And I think when you sit down and again you watch them and kind of hear people who are doing it. You know, I've done cold water therapy, not therapy, but I've used cold water to really start my day off, to get me energised, especially working early mornings shifts. You know, it's a good way of getting yourself going for the day. But when you sit down, you know, people who have started these businesses, there's always a story behind that. You know, there's someone struggling mentally who's then used cold water therapy, which has then really changed their life. And it's really, you know, people are scared to have cold showers. Everyone likes a warm shower. Everyone likes feeling nice and warm and clean and comfy. But I think cold water is a really good example. If you take yourself out that comfort zone, you experience something new, which can then obviously help improve your mental state and open a new way of your day-to-day life. I think something which has come back into a lot of people's lives is meditation. My mum meditates. You know, my mum's in a really mentally intense job. She works at Marie Curie, which obviously Marie Curie is a cancer cancer health centre where, you know, people come and get treatment. People who are terminally ill and need end of life care. Marie Curie's there to give them the support that they need and obviously help with the families which are bereaved from the terminal cancer. You know, my mum's role within Marie Curie is people's end of life care and then making sure that there's nurses and people there who are caring for them people, and that takes a toll on my mum. I think it has done over the years. She's been doing it for over 10 years now, and you know, I know she won't mind me talking about this, but I think it's really took a toll on her life, and she's had to use meditation and, you know, other forms of relaxation techniques to really deal with the day-to-day toll. And I think again it goes, you know, there's other jobs within paramedics, nurses, these high pressure jobs. I think resources like that should, you know, are really good for them kind of roles. But, you know, if I use my mum for an example, she uses meditation to start the day off right, to reflect on what she's been through and what she's gonna go into, and I think that's really helped with the day to day. So again, meditation's a great form of helping your mental state. Going to the gym, exercising, again, another way of really improving your mental health. I think it gets you into a routine. Doing this podcast, coming to the studio every week and recording, it's really routine me and really got, you know, really gave me a purpose in my life. I feel like I owe it to people now to do it, compared to that, you know, I want to do it. I love doing this. I love talking to the camera. I love talking to a guest. I think having a routine in your life really, really important factor as well. But also sitting down and talking to people. I think that's the main thing. Talking, getting your feelings out there. You know I'm very lucky to have an understanding and really caring girlfriend, who's willing to sit down and ask if I'm okay, and then if I'm not, she's willing to sit down and talk to me. But also got my family and extended family through, you know, Gem's family, my girlfriend's side. They'll sit down and talk to me. Having that, but I understand that some people don't have that. So that's why, you know, if you need someone to talk, there's so many charities and pages and phone lines to use. All you need to do is research it, or, you know, look it up. You know, I know there's Calm, which is the charity, which is all about mental health. But you know, there's a lot of public places which are there for you. You know, there's cafes, there's different types of settings and venues which you can just go in and say, listen, I need to talk to someone, and then someone will sit down with you, talk to you, and then if you really feel like you need help, you know, they'll be there, and you know, they'll sit down with you. You know, people go to there's set meetings you can go to, where you sit down with people struggling, you literally stand up, tell the person who you are, and the floor is yours. Like this now, you know, my platform is mine. I can talk about what I feel like I want to talk about. Their meetings are the same, whether it's an addiction, whether it's your mental health. There's meetings set up purely for that, where you can stand up and say, I am XYZ and I'm struggling with this because of, and then you can just go on, and people won't judge you because everyone else who's there is probably dealing with something of their own. Just to touch on the suicide, you know, I hope the statistics that I used really give you an eye-opener on the fact that we need to change and support the change of really lowering that suicide rate. You know, if you are struggling and you feel like, you know, and you have had suicidal thoughts, or you feel like that's the only way forward, then please contact the 988 Suicide and Crisis Helpline. You know, if you're distressed or you're worried about a loved one who need crisis support. You know, if you've got someone you know who you think's, you know, really struggling with the mental health, and you think that their suicide could be an option, they're thinking that's an option for them, ring 988, run by the NHS, and they'll give you the correct help that's needed for anyone who's really struggling with the mental health. I encourage you to share, you know, the resources that I've said, you know, the meditation, everything else that I've said. I really encourage you to share that with others. And I really encourage you to, you know, talk to each other. I think if we go back to technology and social media, I think a lot of our lives revolve around our phones. You know, the days I used to go out and knock for people, whereas now I think a lot of people just have a group chat. You know, times have changed. But if you have got a true group chat of mates that you're close to, or you know, you want to reach out to someone, just message that person and say, look, can I meet up with you? Because I'm really struggling. Or if you don't feel comfortable talking to someone face to face, talk to them over the phone. Use technology to your advantage. You know, like I said, it's not a disadvantage to have social media or technology. Make it a positive thing in your life by, you know, if you really need to talk to someone, you know, it's the easiest way to reach someone now is by phone or, again, social media. Talk to someone, and make sure they know that you are struggling and you are seeking a bit of support. And I'm pretty sure if you said that to someone, that they'd be straight on the phone to you, trying to give you the help or get you the help that you need. You know, I just want to summarise the key takeaways from this episode. It's okay not to be okay. I think that's, you know, if we're going off, you know, a quote that we finish off on the episode, it's okay not to be okay. See, you know, I hope that we get that message across more as the podcast runs. You know, I'm going to start pretty soon. I'm going to start doing, you know, daily vlogs, more sit downs with people, and just try and spread the message that it is okay not to be okay. I think that's the key summary that I want to take from today's sit down with yourself. I want to just reiterate the importance of, you know, breaking the silence and supporting men's mental health. I think if all genders, or however you identify, support mental health within itself, and, you know, and breaking the silence on it, I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change. I think we would see a lot more change a lot more of a happier society. And when we go out, I think we see people a lot more happier and being more of a society and more of a welcome society, should I say. So that's, I know it was short and sweet, episode 10, but I don't think we need to go about it more. I think we kind of spoke about what we need to, about mental health and especially men's mental health. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. You know, it's been one I've been wanting to do for a while. But now I've finally got around to it. I am hoping to start a bit of a sub series within this, and sitting down with people who work within the mental health, sector of work, but also people who have suffered with it and are on the other side. If they can share their experiences and how they got the help that they needed and how they are now today. I think that would be really, really a really good insight into what some people's lives are and how they are, how their experience is shaping people's lives today. Like I said, I'd like to thank our official sponsors, Appear on Clothing and Sfara Radio. I'd like to thank you as well. The support that you've given me over all my platforms. It's much appreciated. I'd also like to thank the studio that I use, Studio 78. If you go and give them a follow on Instagram, very up and coming studio. A lot of podcasts are recording out of this now. And if you're interested in starting a podcast, then just get in touch. They're on Instagram at studio70.8, where you can get in touch with them if you're querying starting a podcast, and they would be more than helpful to help you. So that's been the Local Lab Podcast. As always, stay tuned, stay curious, and stay inspired to the Local Lab Podcast. Thank you.